Have you ever dreamed of creating your own children's book and seeing it published on Amazon? Maybe you've got a good story idea, but the thought of designing pages, choosing illustrations, and uploading it seems overwhelming. Well, don't worry, because in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create and publish your own children's book, step by step. Hello, home bosses. My name is Nuri Yacobi from thehomeboss.com. Welcome to my channel, which is all about helping you to create an income online from self-publishing. So we'll cover everything from writing your story, setting up your book's interior, designing the cover, and finally publishing it on Amazon KDP. And I'll also be using tools like Canva, Amazon KDP, and illustrations from Creative Fabrica, Creative Market, or Etsy to make the process as simple and professional as possible. And while free images might seem tempting, it's important to make sure you have the proper licenses for any illustrations that you use. So I don't recommend using free images that you can find online because Amazon sometimes flags that up. So for this video, I'll be using Creative Fabrica, which offers high quality images with clear licensing that's perfect for publishing. And you just have to follow their rules about combining images to be safe. So if you ever thought about becoming a self-published children's book author, grab a notebook and let's dive in. By the end of this video, you'll have all the tools and knowledge you need to make your dream a reality. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new tutorial. All right, let's get started with the first step, writing your story. So before we get into the fun part of designing and illustrating your book, we need to focus on the foundation, your story. Writing a children's book is all about keeping it simple, engaging, and age appropriate. Start by thinking about your target audience. What age group is your book for? For younger children, you'll want to use simple words and short sentences. And for slightly older kids, you can experiment with more dialogue and descriptive language. Next, consider your story structure. A great children's story typically has, first of all, a relatable main character. This could be an animal, a child, or even a magical creature. And secondly, it needs a clear beginning, middle, and end. Introduce the character and their problem, take them on an exciting journey, and then resolve the story in a satisfying way. And thirdly, a lesson or theme. Stories that include a gentle moral or lesson are always a hit with parents and teachers. And if you're struggling with ideas, don't hesitate to look at other children's books for inspiration, or even ask ChatGPT to help you brainstorm themes and storylines. And it's also a great idea to think outside the box. So what I've just told you is the typical way to create a children's book, but you could create a completely different book. It's your book and it's how you want to create it. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to create a storybook that isn't exactly a story, but that has like motivational or inspirational little quotes or sentences for children. So it really depends how you want to do it. You can write a story or you can just create a slightly different book to stand out. Now it's time to get practical and set up the blueprint for our children's book. This means figuring out the page dimensions, margins, and bleed settings, all the technical details that will ensure your book prints beautifully through KDP. So first of all, let's decide on the size of the book. For this project, we'll use an 8.5 by 8.5 inch square format, which is perfect for children's books. It's a popular size that's easy for little hands to hold while still allowing plenty of space for illustrations to shine. Since we want the images to extend to the very edge of the page, we'll select bleed for this project. Now, what is bleed and why is it important? Bleed refers to the extra space around the edges of your pages that will be trimmed off during printing. It ensures that your illustrations or background covers the entire page without leaving any white borders. For an 8.5 by 8.5 book with bleed, the dimensions of your file will need to be slightly larger. So they should be 8.625 by 8.75 inches. This includes an extra 0.125 inches on all sides to ensure your images extend fully to the edges after trimming. So make sure that you keep all important content like text and key details inside the safe zone, usually about 0.25 inches from the edge of the page. Next, let's decide on the number of pages. I'm going to assume that this book will have 36 pages in total. That's what I'm going to try and keep to. Sometimes you end up with less pages or more pages if you change your mind about what to add, but let's just aim for 36 pages at the moment. Keep in mind that KDP counts both sides of a sheet of paper as 2 pages. This is important when planning your layout. For example, if your story spans 14 illustrated pages, you'll need to add additional pages for the title, dedication, and any other interactive pages like "This book belongs to" or a review request at the end. And now let's jump into Canva, which is a fantastic tool for designing children's books. You can use the free version of Canva, but feel free to use other design software like PowerPoint or Adobe InDesign if you prefer. I personally find Canva very user-friendly. So now we're on Canva. What you want to do next is you want to click on Custom Size on the right top corner. So we click Custom Size and then we change the units to inches. Do this before you enter any of the numbers, because if you do it afterwards, it just messes everything up. So it's important that you do that before you start putting in any numbers. And we're going to enter the width of the book first. So for an 8.5 by 8.5 book, the width will be 8.625. And then we enter the height of the book, and that will be 8.75. And that is to allow for bleed. So this includes an extra 0.125 inches on all sides to ensure your images extend fully to the edges after trimming. And then click on Create New Design. So this has opened a blank canvas, and the next step is to set up the margins to guide your design and ensure everything stays within the safe zone. Canva allows you to enable rulers and margins, and it's really easy to do. And the reason I'm doing this is because I told you earlier that the printers will cut your book to size. They print our books on big sheets of paper, and then they cut the book to size after they have printed it. And that is the reason why we allow for bleed. So to set up your margins, you go on to File, and then you go on Settings, and then I click on Show Margins. And can you see there is a really faint line here now, and that helps me to keep everything important inside this margin. So any text or any important images, I'm going to try and keep them inside this margin here. And remember, the bleed area will be trimmed off during printing, so avoid placing anything important outside the safe zone. So for this book, we're creating full bleed illustrations, so the artwork will extend all the way to the edges. Don't worry, these margin lines won't print, they're just here to guide you as you design. And finally, you need to upload the illustrations you've selected for your book. So if you're using images from Creative Fabrica, Etsy, or Creative Market, make sure you've downloaded the files and have the appropriate commercial use license. And then to upload them onto Canva, and I've already done this, you go on to Uploads, and you can already see I've uploaded my files here. I have used files from Creative Fabrica, from Creative Market, and from Etsy. So it takes a little while to look through Creative Fabrica and Etsy and Creative Market to find the images that you want. So I've been looking for background images, and I also wanted my main character to be a little fox. So I looked and I found all these little fox images, and I'm going to use them to create my book. I've got some other images here as well, but hopefully this is enough to create our book. And the way you upload them onto Canva, you click on Upload Files, and this opens your computer files, and you just choose the images on your computer, and that uploads them onto Canva. And then you can just drag and drop them onto your book. So now that we've set up the technical details, we're ready to dive into designing the pages of our book, combining illustrations and text to bring the story to life. And this is our first page, and normally when you open a children's book or any kind of book, you normally have a title page at first. So I'm just going to put some text here and call it title page, and this is just to let me know what this page is, and we're going to design this later. And then we add another page, and this is normally the copyright page. So I'm just again going to label this copyright page. So I know now that this is the first page when we open our book on the right, and this is the back of the other page on the left. And then the third page, I like to add something like a little summary for the book, or like a little note for parents. So I'm just going to say to parents, or what you could also do is you could have a "this book belongs to" page. So this is completely up to you. These pages are completely what you want to create, but this is the traditional way of doing things. You have a title page, a copyright page, and then a "this book belongs to" page, or a little summary of your book. This is completely up to you. And then we add our designed pages. So I'm going to add another page, and I'm going to show you how I create the interior of my books. So for that, I go on to uploads. So I've got all my uploads here, and I'm going to pick one of the backgrounds, and I'm going to call my book The Little Fox and the Path. I've already got an idea in my head about the story. I've already written it out. Once you have your story, you can now create the images for your story. So I'm actually going to copy paste a text that I have prepared for this page here, which is a note to parents or an explanation of what this book is going to be about. So I'm just going to reduce this font because there's quite a lot there written. So I've got this text prepared. You can prepare all your text and then just copy paste it onto Canva. So you do have to plan out your book a little bit in advance and have all the text that you want to use before you start your images. And I think I want to use a font that's suitable for a children's book, and I found one that I quite like, and it's called Walter Turncoat. They do have funny names, these fonts, but I quite like this for a children's book. I'm going to change the background color in a little bit, and I'm going to left align this text. So I think I'm going to leave it like this for now, and show you later what I'll do with this. So this is just a text that I created for the book. It's a journey through the forest with a little fox as they discover the magic of small moments, a patch of sunlight through the trees, the rustle of leaves in the breeze, and the quiet strength that grows with every step. What I basically did is I designed a book that I want to be a bedtime story, and I want it to be really calming and really positive, and just a really calming, relaxing book that parents can read to their children, and they can really connect with this book. And I've said, with tender words and enchanting illustrations, this story invites children and adults alike to find beauty in the present and courage in the path ahead. So I called the story The Little Fox and the Path, and I've got to now design the interior. So I've chosen this background, and I'm just going to, you can do this two ways. You can either stretch this image to the sides, or you can just click on it and set the image as background. So I quite like to do that. And I've got this path now, an image of a path. So this is my first page. But what I want to do is, if you think about your book, the title page is on the right hand side when you open your book. The back of that is the copyright page. This text will be on the right hand side and this will be on the left, but I have decided I want my images on the right hand side of the book. So I need to put the text for this story. You can either put text on the actual image, but for this book I have decided to have the text on the left hand side. So I'm going to need a page before this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a page there, and this is where I'm going to put my text for this page. When you open the book, this will be on the left and the image will be on the right hand side. I'm going to copy paste the text for this here, and you can't see it because the text is white, and the reason I've done that is because I want to give this page a color, and I like to pick up a color from this image here. So I'm going to click here. Instead of white, I want it to be a green color, and you can see here that Canva picks the colors from the image. You can see the image here, and it's given me these colors to pick. So I'm going to choose a nice friendly green, maybe choose this one. You can see now the text shows up because it's white. So in a quiet forest, there was a little path waiting for someone to follow it. And then you have the image. So you get the idea. So I've got text on the left and then the image on the right. And we're going to add another text page. So what I do is I just duplicate this page and I send it to the next page following the image. And now all I have to do is copy paste my text, and I've got it all prepared already. So I'm going to change that, and I'm going to say, "Where will you take me?" whispered the small traveler, a curious fox with a bushy tail. So now I can center this a little bit, and now my next page will be related to this text. So I want to select a little fox so that people know who I'm talking about, and he's going to be on a path in a woodland. So I'm just checking through my images. So I'm going to add a page, and then I'm going to select another background. So I'm going through my images here, and I quite like, I don't want to use the same one that I used there. So I quite like this one here. So I'm going to click on that, and then again I choose to replace the background. So now we've got this image here, but I want to add the little fox. So I want to find a nice image of a fox. Let's see what I can find. So maybe we have this little guy, and we place him on the path. And then because I'm using images from different places, so I think the background is from Creative Fabrica and the Fox's Creative Market, I can't remember anymore, but because they're from different places, I do want this to look like it's one image. So what I sometimes like to do is I click on this little fox, for example, and I click on edit, and then I choose a filter, and I find that the Scandi filter here, you have to play with this. I found this by playing with this. So I use this filter, and I feel that this looks more in line with the background. I'll show you again. If I click this off, you can see it's a lot brighter. I don't know if you can see it on your computer screen, but for me it does make a big difference. It just looks like it's part of this. So I'll do it again. I'll click on it, see if you can spot the difference in tone. So now I've added this filter, and you can increase the filter and decrease it. So I'm going to decrease it a little bit, and I think this looks pretty much like the little fox is part of this story, of this image here. And that would be then the page that goes with this. Where will you take me? Whispered the small traveler, a curious fox with a bushy tail. So I'm going to continue my story. So I'm going to put another text page here on the next page, and you can also change the colors of this background to fit this page here. So if I go on the colors here and I click this, you can see it's added the new page, but it's also picking up on the colors of the fox. So maybe you want to click this one and have a nice bright red that matches the fox, or maybe something a little bit more subdued. This totally depends on how you want to design your book. So I'm just going to carry on writing the story and adding the text pages and adding the design. So you can continue by repeating this text page. So I just duplicate this, bring it down after the image page, and then I just change the text. So like I said, I've already got this prepared, and I copy paste the text here, and like that. The path replied with a gentle rustle, to where you need to be. Can you spot the tiny butterfly resting on a flower? So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to design a page, and I'm going to choose a background. So let's have a look what I can find. So I need a nice page with a path, and let's try this one. So I'm going to replace the background, and because I said, can you spot the tiny butterfly resting on a flower, I'm going to choose a little butterfly, place it here somewhere so that the children can then point out the little butterfly. And I'm just going to show you quickly how I would do that. In Canva, you have little elements. I do recommend that you choose different elements, not from Canva, maybe from Creative Fabrica or Creative Market, because I'm not too sure on the licensing in Canva. And because I'm not sure about it, I tend to avoid Canva elements and I use my own. But just to show you how this would work, you can choose an element from Canva, and then you would place it on a flower, somewhere on the picture, so that children can find the butterfly on the page. And like I said, you can use images from Creative Fabrica, Creative Market or Etsy, and I prefer to do it that way rather than using elements from Canva. I do have the Pro version of Canva, so I can use elements, but I try to avoid it. I always make sure that I mix and match images, because that is where usually people have problems. They use images as they are on Canva, and you can't do that. So this is how you would create your pages. I have decided that I want to create a text page, and then the opposite page is the image, but you can also place the text on the actual images. It's completely up to you how you want to design your book. So I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to create this whole book, and then I'll come back and show you what I've created. Right, so I finished designing my book interior, and I just want to show you what I've done. So my first page is This Book Belongs To, and I've just used the same character from the book, and I put a round frame into Canva, and then superimposed the background on it to create this circle with the image of the little fox. And then I've got my copyright page, and then I have the page I showed you earlier with the message for the parents, or just with an explanation of what the book is about. And this is the first page. I've changed the text a little bit here and there. So I suggest when you create your book, really take your time. Whenever I create these books for a video, I don't spend as much time on it as I would like to. But this time round, I've gone through it very carefully and checked all the text. And then this is the first page with the path. And I've got my second page with the text, "Where will you take me?" whispered a curious little fox with a bushy tail. I have changed the text a little bit there. And I've also changed the little fox image. I chose a different fox in the end because he was more appropriate for this book, and also because I had more variations of this fox than of the other fox. And it's always a good idea to keep the same character, but having different variations, different poses or different expressions. And I found it easier with this one. So the page I showed you earlier has been changed. And then the following page is the path replied with a gentle rustle to "Where you need to be. Can you spot the tiny butterfly resting on a flower?" So I've got that as well. And I carried on with the book, and I've also included a little bird. Where's the little bird perched in the tree? So they can find him here. And I created this page by putting on a background and then adding the fox. And you can add other things. For example, in this case, I added the fox, but I also added a dandelion flower, and then I've added all these dandelion seeds. So you slowly create your book by using different backgrounds, different characters. You can add other elements. And this is how the book has progressed. So I'll just quickly show you. It's 36 pages altogether. And I've changed the different backgrounds as well to match the different images. And this is the last page. The fox curled up beneath the stars, feeling safe and loved. "Thank you, path," he murmured. And then it just finishes with the path whispered back, "With each step we take together, you grow a little braver, a little stronger, and you'll always carry the love that will guide you wherever you go." And then an end page. And then I've added this page here, which I think is always worth doing. "Thank you for joining the little fox on this magical journey. If this story brought a spark of joy, wonder, or comfort to you or your child, I would be so grateful if you could share your thoughts by leaving a review. Your kind words help other readers discover this book and support the magic of storytelling. I'd love to hear from you. With gratitude, Tina Kidd." So I published this under my pen name, Tina Kidd. And I think it's worth including a final page where you're asking for a review. So this is our interior. Let me just quickly show you what it looks like. So I think the colors are quite nice. And when we upload the book to Amazon KDP, we will get a chance to review the book again with a previewer. So all in all, I'm quite happy with it. And now I'm going to show you how to create the cover. So to create the cover, you need to know the size that you're going to create it in. And for that, you can use the KDP cover calculator. You can just type this into Google and it comes up straight away. I will also leave a link under the video so you can find it. But when we click on there, it takes us to the print cover calculator and templates. So now all we need to do is to fill this out. So the binding type is paperback. The interior type is premium color. We're going to print on premium color. It's more expensive than standard color, but for standard color, you need a minimum of 76 pages. So we're going to use premium color. And for paper type, we're going to select white paper. The reading direction is left to right. And the measurement units, we're going to select inches. And we select a trim size of 8.5 by 8.5 inches. Here it is. And now we also have to put in our page count, and that is because the thicker a book is, the bigger the size of the cover will be, because we're making the cover all in one. It's the front cover, the back cover, and the spine. And because the spine is thicker depending on the pages, this is why it's important to put in the page number, because the size of the cover will depend on that. So now we've done that, we click on Calculate Dimensions, and straight away it's given us the cover that we need to create this in. So the full cover is 17.334 by 8.75. And you can also download a template. So you click on Download Template and it will upload onto your computer. And I'll just quickly show you. So this is in a file on my computer, and the one that you want to upload to Canva is this one here. It's the PNG file. You also get a PDF file, but it's a lot easier to upload a PNG file to Canva. So we're going to do that, and I'll show you how to do it. So when you're back in Canva, click on Custom Size again, and now we're going to put in the size that we got from our template, and quickly just show you again. So the full cover is 17.334 by 8.75. So let's type that in. First of all, we change this to inches, and 17.334 by 8.75. And then we click on Create New Design. We're going to create our front cover, our back cover, and the spine all in one. So now we want to upload our template file onto Canva. And because it's in a zip file, it doesn't let us upload a zip file to Canva. So we have to open the file and extract everything. So I'm going to extract all, and then you can either just drag and drop it to Canva or then upload the file, but I'm just going to drag it onto the uploads. And then you just click on it, place it on the canvas, and you just drag it to the edges, and this will give you the exact template, the exact measurements, where your cover, your front cover should go, where your spine is, and where your back cover is. So you can do this two ways. You can design your front cover straight over this template, or you can remove this template and just do this. I'll show you quickly. Go on Settings, Show Rulers and Guides, and then you can just place a guide here to show you where the spine is. So now you know that's where the spine goes. You can take this away, and you know where to design your front cover. So let's try that. And for the front cover, I'm going to use one of my backgrounds, and I think I'll use this one. And I'm just going to place it so that it's filling the whole space. Okay, so it's going over the spine a little bit, so that's fine. And for the back cover, I'm going to use the same image, but I'm going to invert it. So I'm going to duplicate it, and then what I'll do is I go onto Flip Horizontal, and now it's inverted the image, and now I can adjust it to kind of fit with this cover page seamlessly, so that you don't see, I mean, there's all different ways you can do this. You could even create a rectangle and then place that over the spine. Some notebooks are created like that. They just have a different color spine. And I like that in notebooks, but because this is a children's book, I think I will just leave it as it is. And this just goes, it rolls over the spine, and that's fine. And now I need my little fox. And as I said, I did change the little fox. I made a folder where I'm keeping all my files. So I'll just quickly get that. So I've got all the different foxes in this folder, and I'm going to use one that I quite like for the front cover because he's kind of looking into the camera. So I'm going to place him right in the front. I keep changing the foxes. I keep changing my mind. But this is what happens when you create a book. You just keep changing things all the time until you're happy with the result. That's absolutely fine. And what I like to do is I like to give him a bit of a filter. And I think it just blends in better with the page with this Scandi filter, so that looks better now. And now we need a title. So the title is going to be The Little Fox and the Path. I'm just going to my text box. So I've got The Little Fox and the Path. Choose a font that's easy to read. I would say that's my advice to you. And let's see if I can find one that I like. This is where I spend a lot of time usually. It takes me a long time to find the perfect fonts and perfect designs, but it's really worth taking your time. I quite like this. So now what I can also do, because it doesn't really stand out too much, I can go on effects and I can choose an outline, and I can make this outline a little bit thicker, and I can choose the color of the outline and make that maybe something to match the cover. This is slightly too green. Kind of too dark, but I quite like it as well. So just play with it until you're happy with your title and how it looks. And we have to also do the subtitle and author name. So I'm going to use the same font. And the subtitle is A Magical Bedtime Story. I'm going to make that much smaller. So I made it much smaller, and I'm also going to give it the same treatment with the outline. And I'm going to use the same green, make it a bit thicker. And I've spotted a spelling mistake. And there we are. That's better. And also our author name. And that can be much smaller as well. So take your time with this, play with it until you're 100% happy. And after you've done the front cover, we're going to do the back cover. So on the back cover, you usually have an explanation or a little bit of a story about the book. What is the book about? And I'm just going to copy paste something I have prepared earlier. So this is what I've written, and because you cannot read it very well, I'm going to put something behind it. So I'm going to put a rectangle. If you press R on your keyboard, it will bring up a rectangle on Canva, and I'm just going to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the rectangle and go up here onto the transparency and bring the transparency down so that you can still see the picture, the image in the background, but it's easier to read the text now. Again, play with it and try different things until you are happy with it. But this is how I would create my cover. And it's ready for upload once you have checked it and you made all the changes that you want to create. So I'm just going to go through it, take my time with it, and then I'll show you the finished product. So here is my finished cover. I changed the font a little bit again, and I've also changed the little fox because I just thought this one was a little bit better. It takes me ages to create a cover because I'm looking at all the different designs, and just take your time with your cover. There's absolutely no rush, and it's better that you check and double check everything, because you don't want to have to make any changes once your book is published. It's best to make any changes now. And now you can remove any templates or any lines that you have over it. And you can download your cover as well as your interior by clicking share up here on the right hand side, and then you click on download. And then what you want to do is you want to download this as a PDF print. This is the same for the cover as it is for the interior. Always download as a PDF print, and before you do anything else, tick the box that says flatten PDF. You need to do that so that your whole PDF is printed correctly on Amazon. You select the page that you want to download, which is page 3 in this case, and then you leave it on RGB. I know a lot of people like to click on CMYK because this is for professional printing, but I find that if I change this to CMYK, the file size is really big, and it doesn't really matter, because even if you just tick RGB, which gives you a smaller file size, much easier to upload onto Amazon, and Amazon convert it to the right file anyway. So don't worry about clicking RGB. This is what I always use for all my books, and I've never had any problems with it. And then you just click on download, and this will download your cover to your computer. You save it on your computer, and the next bit I will show you is how you upload your book to Amazon KDP. So you need your cover file and your interior file on your computer ready to upload to Amazon KDP. So I've showed you how to create the story, the interior, and the cover. And now comes the exciting bit, which is uploading the interior and cover file to Amazon KDP and publishing your book. So for that, we head over to Amazon KDP in your Kindle Direct Publishing dashboard. And we're on my bookshelf at the moment. You can see that this is the book I published for a previous video, which was a coloring book. And today we want to publish our children's book. So for that, we click on Create. And then we click on Paperback. And the first thing you're going to see is the language. So we leave that as English. This bit here, please ignore that. That is just for my tangent template list helper. If you don't have it, you won't see this. And it's a really handy tool if you're uploading a lot of the same type of books. For example, if you've got a lot of coloring books or a lot of children's books to upload, this can really help you because it saves some of the settings that you use more than once. In this case, we don't really need it, so we're just going to continue with our book title. And our book title is The Little Fox and the Path. And then we enter the subtitle, and in my case, it's A Magical Bedtime Story. And then we can put books into series, which we're not going to do now, and we don't have to worry about an edition number either. We do have to enter the author name, and I'm using a pen name. I'm using Tina Kidd, which is the pen name I use for some of my children's books. And there's no contributors. This is where you would put in the name of your illustrator if you have one, or an editor. Any person that you want to credit would then go here. So you can see here there's all different options you can choose. We're not going to worry about that. And then we're going to put a description of our book here. And you can get ChatGPT to help you with this if you're not confident to write your own description. But make sure that when you use anything that ChatGPT provides, make sure that you really check it, because it can make mistakes, and sometimes it doesn't really come up with the right wording. So you do need to check it, but it can be a help for these kind of things. So I'm just going to copy paste a text that I have prepared earlier. So I'm just going to copy paste it here. And I formatted it a little bit as well. So it says The Little Fox and the Path, a magical bedtime story, a heartwarming bedtime story about wonder, bravery, and finding your way. And I quite like using bold fonts in the title, for example, and in different headings. And also I like using bullet points. So that always makes it a lot easier for people to read. And I think this is okay, so I will recheck it. I always check things again and again, and even then you can still make mistakes. So this is why I'm just telling you, because it looks like I'm doing this very quickly for this video, but I'm actually going to recheck this again. And then we're going to answer the question about our publishing rights, and we click I own the copyright and hold necessary publishing rights. So this can sometimes cause confusion, especially if you're using images that you have purchased. But don't worry, this question is primarily aimed at those publishing public domain works, like classic stories that are no longer under copyright. So this is why it then asks you to state whether this is a public domain work. So it's either one or the other. And if it's not a public domain work, which yours isn't, then you tick I own the copyright and hold the necessary publishing rights. So this question isn't about your images or anything like that. It's about whether you are the rights holder and it's not a public domain work. Public domain work are old books that are now in the public domain, that are not under copyright anymore. And some people specialize in publishing them. I think this is a very complicated topic, and that's a topic for another video. But don't worry when you see this question, because I know a lot of people keep getting confused about this. So you just tick I own the copyright and hold the necessary publishing rights, because you're not publishing a public domain book. And if you've created the book yourself, you selected and arranged your own text, and you're either drawn the illustrations or purchased them with the correct commercial use license, then you do own the copyright to your book as a whole. So just make sure to check the licensing terms of any images you've used to confirm they allow for commercial use in print books. And as long as you've followed those guidelines, you can confidently select yes and move on to the next step. So then we have to click whether this includes sexually explicit images or titles, and we can confidently click no, because this is a children's book. And we have the option now to select the reading ages, and you can do that, but I quite like to leave that blank, because I think that sometimes children are more advanced than others, and other children are probably a bit younger than their years. Every child develops at a different rate, and I think to put an age range can be tricky. So I quite like to leave it and not select a range. But if I had to choose one, I would probably go with 3 to 5 years old for this type of book, maybe even 3 to 6 years old. But that is completely up to you, and it depends on the type of book that you're creating. The primary marketplace is Amazon.com, and it says that it's the location where you expect the majority of your book sales. So you can change this if you want, but the only difference this makes is when it comes to the pricing stage of your book. If you select Amazon.com, it will then convert all the currency for the other marketplaces into American dollars, or it will use the American dollar as a base for all the conversions. If you choose Amazon.co.uk, it will convert all the other currencies according to the pound sterling. So it really doesn't make any difference. I usually leave it on Amazon.com. And now we have to choose the categories, and this is really important. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube about how to select categories. And I think what's really important is that you select the closest category or the most relevant category for your book. Because in the past, a lot of people have been trying to game the system. They have been trying to get a bestseller badge for categories that are not really relevant for their books. And Amazon are really clamping down on that. You can get your book blocked if you put it in the wrong category. So what you really want to do is choose the most relevant category for your book. So we're not going to click low content books, and we're not going to click large print book, even though this is a large print book because the font is over 16 points. But because it's a children's book, we don't need to tick this. This is only for books that are designed for visually impaired people, so maybe for elderly people or for people who can't see very well. Then you would tick your large print book if it's over 16 points. But with children's books, it's assumed that they will be big fonts, and you don't need to tick that. And we don't need to tick low content because this is a children's book. So the categories, click on choose category, and then we're going to select children's books. And now you can select any of these here. So it could be, if you're creating an activity book, it could be activities, animals. Now we have got animals in our book, so this is one of the categories we could have. And then it gives you a subcategory as well. So we could put foxes if they have it. Let's see, foxes and wolves. And a subcategory there, foxes. And it's fiction because it's not real. So we have selected the first category, and then we want to add another category. You can have up to 3 categories. So we select another one. Again, we go to children's books because there's no other category that's really relevant. And this time, let's see if there's a different one we can tick. So we've got animals already. Early learning. It's not really an early learning book because I'm not teaching anyone anything with this book necessarily. So let me see. I can't really see one that would be very appropriate. But for example, if you had a book that is teaching children to count to 10 or something like that, then you could tick early learning. I could maybe try fairy tales, folk tales and myths because it is a bit like a fairy tale. And let's see, the category is United States. I'm not sure that is correct. So let's see what else there is. So I don't think this really fits into this category either. So let's see if there's another one. Fantasy and magic. Let's try that one. General. I could put it here, fantasy and magic, general. I'll try that one. And then I don't think there is another one. I'm finding them hard to find. Let's have a look. Oh, there's some more here. Let's see if I can find another one under children's books. I can't really see what other category this could go into. Maybe action and adventure. Let's see if I can click action and adventure. It is a bit of an adventure. So I'll click that one. And maybe I'll remove the fantasy and magic one because it's not quite that. I rather just keep it in foxes and in action and adventure. And then once you have selected your categories, you save your categories. The other thing you can do is you can have a look at similar books on Amazon and see what categories they are in, and then get your guidance from there. So I'm going to click Save Categories. And now comes the fun part. We have to choose our keywords. And keywords is something that you need to research before you start your book even, because you need to find keywords that people are typing in for their children. So before I started my book, I did research keywords that are for bedtime stories and for sort of relaxing stories for children. So I found a few keywords and I'm just going to type them in. And there are long tail keywords and there are short tail keywords. So long tail keywords is when they are in a sentence, like for example, bedtime story for kids. That's a long tail keyword. And this is a short tail keyword because it's just one word. But I'm going to make that a long tail one as well. I find that long tail keywords usually work better for me, but it really depends on your book. So it could be different for your book. So you have to research that, and you can do that by going on Amazon and looking at other competitors and having a look at what they're using. So I'm just going to copy paste a list of keywords that I made. So there's another gentle bedtime book, soothing children's book, and let's have a look. I've got another one which is mindfulness for kids, relaxing stories for toddlers, and another one would be animal adventure book, forest bedtime tale, and inspiring picture book, positive messages for kids. And we also have interactive book for kids, find the hidden animals, and last but not least, heartwarming bedtime book, nature story for kids. And I know that keywords are something that people get very confused about because they're not quite sure what to put in here. This is basically to help people find your books. So if you imagine what parents might be typing into the Amazon search bar to help them find your book, that is what you really want to put in here. And you can use long tail keywords, so they're short sentences, rather than individual words, because Amazon will use these words anyway. They will use relaxing. They will maybe combine them differently. They might combine bedtime story with for toddlers, for example, or bedtime tale with positive messages for kids. So they will sort of combine all these keywords anyway and swap them around. So as long as you've got most of them covered, that should be enough for you. And keep them relevant to your book. Don't put in anything that's not relevant to your book, like, I don't know, like fantastic gift for parents or fantastic Christmas gifts or something like that. That is not really what you want to do, and I don't think Amazon allow that anymore. So it really needs to be very relevant to your book. And then it's got the publication date, so we leave that as it is. Publication date and release date are the same, so that's the same as well. And then what we can do is save and continue. So this won't take very long. It saved it successfully. And here we are on the next page. So now we can assign it an ISBN, or we can add our own ISBN. And ISBNs are a topic that deserves a video on its own, really. So I'm not going to explain too much about ISBNs because I'm just going to assign the KDP ISBN, which means you can use a free KDP ISBN to publish your book, and this free ISBN can only be used on KDP for distribution to Amazon and its distribution partners. It cannot be used with another publisher or publishing service. And because I'm only going to publish this book on Amazon, I'm just going to give it an Amazon ISBN. If you are building a brand and you're planning on publishing your book on Ingram Spark or on any other platform, then you can buy your own ISBN, and then instead of saying independently published, like it does here, the imprint, it will have your publishing company, your imprint. So that is the difference. And because for me, Amazon is the biggest marketplace and it's the most important marketplace for me, for this particular book, I'm just going to use the free ISBN. And now we're coming to the print options. So we want to print premium color, and the reason we have to print premium color is because standard color is, I think you have to have a minimum of 72 pages, I think it is. So premium color, you only need a minimum of 24 pages, and that is why we're printing this book in premium color. It will be more expensive, but you can price your book accordingly. And then we select the trim size. So our book is 8.5 by 8.5. So we're going to select that here. So we're just going to quickly find it. There it is, 8.5 by 8.5. And we are selecting this with bleed because our images go right to the edge of the paper. Can you see this book here is without bleed? So this one has a white frame all around the images. That is without bleed. And because our images go right over to the edge of the page, we have to select bleed. Imagine the color bleeding over the page. So that is why it's called bleed. And we have selected bleed for our book. And then you have to decide whether you want a matte or a glossy cover. And for my children's books, I always go with glossy because that is the more traditional way to publish children's books, and also because children are a little bit messy. They can have sticky fingers, and the glossy pages are just much easier to wipe clean for parents. So parents usually like to have little books that can be wiped because we all know what little children are like. One minute they're eating a chocolate donut and the next minute they're reading a book and touching it with their chocolatey fingers. So that's why glossy is more practical than a matte cover. And then we have to upload our manuscript. So we click here and we go onto our computer and search for our file. You would have stored your files on your PC somewhere. So I've got them in a file called The Little Fox and the Path, and I'm going to upload my interior. This will take a little bit of time, so we just wait patiently while this is turning. And if it's taking too long, I will stop the video and come back when it's finished. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's slow. It really just depends. So we just have to be patient. So now that it has saved my manuscript, and if you wait a little while, it will say here that it has uploaded it. There we go. Manuscript for The Little Fox interior uploaded successfully. So now we have to upload the cover. And Amazon has got a cover creator, but I've never used it because I don't think it's a very good solution for a cover. It doesn't give you many options. So I always create my own cover the way I've showed you in the video. And for that, we just tick Upload Cover. And we click on this, and then we upload the cover. Click Open, and again we just have to wait until it has uploaded our cover. So that was pretty quick. Sometimes it can take a lot longer, and it's now uploaded both files successfully. It asks you here, does your cover include a barcode? And I always leave this unchecked because I prefer when Amazon puts their own barcode on my book. I don't buy barcodes and I don't really understand the need for that, so I just let Amazon place their own barcode on the book. And now we have to disclose whether we have used AI generated content, and you really need to answer this carefully. So I have not used AI generated content in this particular book, but if I had, I would click yes, and then you have to select some sections with minimal or no editing, some sections with extensive editing. So depending on your answer, you just answer this truthfully. And now we can preview the book. We can launch the previewer, and this is always the exciting part because you never know what's going to happen. Sometimes there are mistakes, and I'm just hoping and keeping my fingers crossed that this will work. So let's launch the previewer. And this will take a little bit of time, so you can go and make a cup of coffee or tea, and we'll come back to this. Oh, I didn't even have time to get up and make the coffee. It absolutely did this so quickly, and I'm really pleased to see that there are no quality faults or no problems with this. Normally, if there is a problem, it will come up here. And I can see that the cover is fairly well aligned, so everything is in the middle, away from the edges, no text near the edges either, so I'm quite happy with the cover. So let's have a look at the interior now. So that is the first page this book belongs to. Here we have the copyright and another page here. I could have used maybe a little icon here, or a little illustration. I think that would make it better. I might, before I publish this book, I might actually change that and just put something there to make it a bit friendlier looking, a bit more kid-friendly looking. This is why it's really good to check your book in this previewer, because it shows you exactly how it will look as a book. So this is the first 2 pages. In a quiet forest, there was a little path waiting for someone to follow it, and it carries on with the story. So I've never done a book where I've just got the text on one side and just an image on the other. Usually I combine the text with the images, so I thought I'd try something different. And that's another page. Everything is centered. I always make sure that everything is within the margins. And this looks okay. This looks okay. So I think it's looking quite good. I'm happy with it. And once you have approved everything and you think it looks okay and you're happy with it, then you just click approve here. And then it takes you onto the previous page where you can just check everything. So you've got an ISBN here, and premium color interior with white paper. Everything is as we ticked it. And it's telling you the printing cost now. So it costs $4.20 to print, which is quite a lot, but that's what children's books are because they're in full color. So they tend to be more expensive than other books. And then we can click Save and Continue, and it will bring us onto the pricing page. So now we need to tick all territories because you want to publish your book on every marketplace on Amazon. You can, if you prefer, choose individual territories. So if you only want to publish in the United States, or say you only wanted to publish in Italy, if your book's in Italian, you can select the countries that you want to publish in. I normally publish to all territories, even if my books are in a different language, because I know that there are people who speak Spanish in the US and in Germany and in all sorts of countries. So you've got a better chance of selling your book if you publish on all territories. And your primary marketplace, I already selected it as Amazon.com, and that only means that my prices will be calculated based on the dollar rate. So now we have to decide on a price, and the best way to decide that is to go on Amazon and check your competitors' prices. And I've checked my competitors, and they really range from anything from $9.99 to $18.99. There really isn't an ideal range as such. They can vary quite a lot. So you have to kind of base it on the royalties that you want to earn. And I always say that I want to earn at least $3 per book, because otherwise it's not worth making the book. So I'm going to try $14.99 and see what happens. And that is actually really good. So if I price my book at $14.99, it gives me a royalty of $4.79, and that is pretty good. So I think I can even go a little bit lower and price it at $13.99. So that gives me a very decent royalty of $4.19, which is £3.50. And I think this is appropriate. And it's not at the high end of the prices for books, for children's books, and it's also not on the cheap end. And I think that people on Amazon don't necessarily look for a cheap book. They're looking for a book that they like and that they want to buy and they can gift and things like that. So I'm going to change the prices here to end in 99 because I think that looks better. But I'm happy pricing them at this price. So I go through all of them, change all of the prices. And once I do all of that, it says here it can take up to 72 hours for your book to be available for purchase on Amazon. And that really varies. I've had books that were approved the next day, and I've had books that have taken 2 weeks to be approved. So it just depends how busy the people that work for Amazon are. If they're very busy, especially like before Christmas or before Valentine's Day, before Easter, those sort of things, they are busier during those times and it can take a little bit longer. But it just takes as long as it takes. We can't really do anything about that. And then it says by clicking publish, I confirm that I agree to and am in compliance with the KDP terms and conditions. And if you're not sure what the KDP terms and conditions are, you can click on that. And I absolutely recommend, if you are just starting out and this is your first book on Amazon, please click on this and read it. It's so important because I see people making so many mistakes that are really putting their accounts in danger. Amazon doesn't terminate accounts for no reason. There's usually a reason for it. And usually it's because somebody hasn't really understood the terms and conditions. So make sure you really read them well before you publish any books on Amazon. The other thing you can do is you can request a proof copy of your book. That means that Amazon will send you a book, but it will have a stripe across it and it says not for resale. So you can't sell a proof copy, but it's a good idea to get it if you want to just check your book and see if you're happy with it before you publish it. What I normally do is I publish it and then I just order a copy as a customer and I get it on Amazon Prime, and I usually get it within 2 days. Whereas if you request proof, it can take a lot longer. And I'm usually very impatient to publish my books, so I can't wait that long. I usually just publish it, but it's completely up to you. So then you click publish your paperback book, and that's it. That's your book published. I'm not going to publish just yet because I still want to go over the book and make sure that everything is correct. But I just wanted to make this video to show you how you can publish your children's book. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I hope it was useful for you. And if you did like it, please like and subscribe to the channel. And let me know if there are any other videos that you would like me to create. I'm happy to create tutorials or anything that's going to help you in your publishing journey. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time.